Thank you, Tom. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing us a few minutes to present our project. My name is Dennis Sims. I'm the president of the Cecil Friends of the Montour Trail, whose mission statement is to promote and maintain the Cecil Township section of the trail, which runs 7.5 miles from Southview to Chartiers Creek, and it currently connects 3 township parks, one's in Southview, Cecil, and Hendersonville. Since the formation of our group in 1994, we have been seeking ways to connect the trail with Southpointe. The land acquired to create the park on Klinger Road borders the trail, thus providing a potential route for this connector trail and a fourth Cecil Park that could be connected by the trail. The late Frank Ludwin had become an advocate for this project and would have built it himself if he had not passed away last year. The trail was Frank's sandbox and the trail equipment his talking toys. The work that Frank performed on the trail was one of many ways he gave back to the community. Frank can be seen in the following image looking over the site of the proposed trail. Our group, the Southpointe Connector Committee, wants to see his vision fulfilled. Your body passed a motion unanimously at your January organizational meeting, naming the trail from the park to the Montour Trail, the Frank Ludwin Memorial Trail. Our committee is here this evening to invite the Cecil Township Supervisors, the Department of Public Works, and the Parks and Recreation Board to be partners in fulfilling the wish of your fellow late supervisor. One of Frank's mottos is working together. Frank would be happy to see everyone become partners to fulfill his vision. I now give the floor to Ned Williams, President of the Montour Trail Council, who will highlight the scope of the project.
Thank you, Dennis. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As it was said, the Montour Trail runs about 60 miles through the suburbs of Pittsburgh, connects to a lot of different parks, connects to many different things. And there's been a lot of impetus to try to connect the thing to the Southpointe Business Park. 3 years ago, when we were working on the bridges over Georgetown and Morganza, we had a lot of people asking when there would be a connection into Southpointe, people who were using the trail. So this is sort of the beginning of this process. The connector is conceived of in 3 sections. The first is from Montour Trail up to the top of the hill to Reserve Drive, and then the middle section down to Klinger Road, and then Klinger Road down to Corporate Drive. The first section is all in the woods. It would start on the Montour Trail a little bit past 79, wind up through the woods. It's got some switchbacks to get up the hill. This has all been designed by Gateway Engineers. This isn't just a dream. This has really been designed and engineered. A little under 2,000 feet long, number of switchbacks. I was informed that the water runoff permitting has been secured, and this part is actually pretty close to being ready to go out for construction, pending construction funding. So there's the estimated cost of it there, and this would get from the Montour Trail up to the end of the new Reserve Drive. The second piece of it would parallel on the north side of Reserve Drive all the way down to Klinger Road. It's a 10-foot wide trail, about 2,000 feet, and would run down to Klinger Road. That's fairly straightforward there. The third piece of it is conceived of as a sidewalk along Klinger Road that would go down to Corporate Drive, and this would allow people that are coming in to get down to Corporate Drive and then to continue on the sidewalk and the road sections of through Southpointe. When I was coming to this meeting, I got off of 79 at the Southpointe exit, and right in front of me was a vehicle that was coming out of Southpointe with a bike rack on the back, and I found myself thinking, I wonder if this person, would ride their bike there rather than drive in and contribute to the vehicle traffic in there, if that were possible. Altogether, the whole thing's a little over a mile. Total cost is estimated cost by Gateway Engineers in their initial estimate, about $360,000. And that's pretty much the details of the nuts and bolts of the project, conceived of in 3 sections. Dennis?
At this time, I'd like to ask Dale Risker to come forward, President of the Marcellus Shell Southpointe Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening. As I was introduced, I'm the president of the Southpointe Marcellus Shell Chamber of Commerce. And I got to give you a little bit of past history about Frank and I in the chamber. Frank was a chamber member for many years. Frank and I often bantered back a hot football for the township. The chamber would get phone calls about traffic and stop signs and police, and I would hand them off to Frank. So I'm going to have to pick out a new victim here to hand off those complaints to when the chamber gets those. But anyway, Frank was a good member of our chamber. Frank and I worked together on trail projects, and overall, the Southpointe Chamber, Marcellus Shell Chamber, endorses this project. And we have a few slides that we put together to really try to make the people and the supervisors see the benefit of this trail. Not only for the convenience of the people working at Southpointe, but also for the convenience of the whole township. And most of all, as you can see, I'm just going to summarize some of these. I'm not going to read them through word for word for you, but it makes a great place for our kids to ride their bikes and pedestrians to walk. Years ago, when we opened up a bridge, I had a gentleman come to me and he said, well, I ride my bike to Southpointe and I go down through the golf course. Well, the next day I got a call from the golf course saying, who is that? But anyway, this is one of the reasons that I feel that we need to do this, you know. And also the really big point is on the housing. People building housing, they want to see trail access, and more houses that are in Southpointe, the better for the township and the Southpointe business. Also tourism, money spent in royal towns. Some of our areas go through areas that aren't so good, but the money that is spent in the spin-off, just look at those numbers, 924 million, that's a lot of potatoes. You know, 533 million in direct impact occurred from annual, such as travel, equipment sales, restaurant expenditures, and you know, we got a lot of restaurants in Southpointe, and I'm sure a lot of people riding their bikes will be coming to Southpointe just like we go out in the evening for dinner. They'll jump on their bike and come up to Southpointe for dinner as well. This last item, I found that to be very impressive. The Great Allegheny Passage, that is actually, all of our trails connect up through one way or another. The Panhandle, Montour, it hits that. And just look at that, 40.8 million in 2008. What a statement that that's making just from the trail for that. So how much can we benefit from that? And I'm speaking as a business person in Southpointe and the township. $40 million, you know, that's a nice number. Another thing that is more so than dollars and cents is how healthy is it for ourselves and our kids to get involved. And this shows here, showing a cost of a ratio of 2.94. Overall, for every dollar spent, we're getting $2.94 medical benefits. That's because our people are getting out on the trail, exercising, getting healthier. So overall, that's why the chamber is behind it and endorsing it. I just think it's a great idea for Southpointe. I think it's a great idea for Cecil. And I think Frank would be proud of us all that if he was here to see this happen. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dale. And to provide some closing remarks, I'm going to invite our chairman of our committee, Chuck Healy, to come forward.
In closing, I'd first like to thank Don Januso for doing so much to help coordinate with the efforts that we're trying to do to bring this all together. For me, I'm not a member of the Cecil Township Friends of the Trail. I am not a member of the Montour Trail Council. I'm not involved with Southpointe. I'm a retired school superintendent from West Allegheny School District. And all I'm doing is I'm cutting grass. But one night, I was so excited to get the tractor from the Montour Trail that I kept it longer than I should. And I came back late, and it was dark, and I got back to the Henderson garage. And because I'm a superintendent and I don't know much about tractors, I ran right into the garage door. And I couldn't close it, and I was stuck there, and I couldn't close it, and all that valuable equipment, and it was dark, and I was going to have to stay there all night. But somebody gave me, thank heavens, a telephone number of a guy named Frank Ludwin. And if you call this guy, and I thought, he doesn't know me, and I don't know him, he won't come. Half an hour later, there was Frank. Got the garage door fixed, all went home. I thanked Frank. And I said, what can I do to help you? And he asked me what my background was, and I told him, and he said, yes, you can help me if you can. There's a couple of really great people, Marilyn McKenna, Dennis Sims. We're all trying to work together to try and bring a plan together. He said, I really believe in this plan, and I think it can benefit a lot of people for a long time. Would you help us try? And I owed him big time. I didn't even know about the trail, but I owed him. And so we started to meet, and it became something very much more than just Frank. Became something that seemed to be so beneficial for everybody. And as we continued to work, Ned came in and was part of it, and Deb Zayas, who knows so much about helping bringing us together. And then with Southpointe, with the folks from all the issues with assisting, and it took a life of its own. But it wasn't a quick time before we realized that there was no way with Dale and all the individuals involved that we can do a thing alone. We can't do a thing. We will go home tonight, no matter how altruistic we think this will help everybody. We can't do a thing without you. Because you own the property. You are the one catalyst that can help us or kill the whole project. And we decided we can't go any further until we come to talk to you tonight. And that's why we're here. We're not here to ask for money. If you want to give it to us, we'll gladly take it. But we're not here tonight. We're asking for something that's more valuable to us than money at this point. We're asking you for your time. Because without you showing that you are behind us as a partner, we can't go to some of the corporations, we can't go to some of the areas that we want to go to raise money, unless they know that the owners of the property are there. So we're asking to a few, if not more, supervisors will come with us and be with us and go to the corporations, to go to the areas where we need to raise money, to show that not only are you protected because you have somebody there who represents you, but they see you by being there to know that the credibility for our project means all of what we are about. So all we're asking for you tonight, and we're asking a great deal, is to ask for you to pick several supervisors who are willing to spend a lot of time and effort visiting a lot of people to help us raise this money. We really believe in our hearts that this is going to benefit a lot of people. But you know what? It's also going to be very, very important to remember that gentleman, Frank Ludwin. That's all we're asking for tonight. Can we answer any questions?
Sure.